Consumer Reports has just released their 10 least reliable cars, and the GM trucks, yes, Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra, Chevy Colorado, and GMC Canyon, well, they're on this list. But it gets a little bit more confusing the more you dig into it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about this list, tell you what I kind of found behind the scenes, and tell you where kind of confusion reigns on all you're shopping for a truck and what you need to know. And if it's your first time on this channel, welcome. My name is Tim. This is Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. On this channel, you find truck and SUV news, reviews, interesting stories, information you need when you're out buying a truck. Hit subscribe, stick around. I have lots of dependability stories, reviews. It's really good stuff. Let's go ahead and get the screen, get started on all this information I'm sharing with you today, right now. All right, I'm on consumerreports.org. If you don't know, that's a nonprofit organization. They buy their own vehicles, they test them, they get members who give them information on their vehicles, how they do. For this survey, they had 329,000 responses, and out of those responses, each model got about 200 to 300 different responses in that model. So they feel like they have a really good basis for statistical analysis with that many responses. If you scroll down, we can see they do this list, least reliable. They did a list on the most reliable, and none of the trucks made that list. But on the least reliable list, they had 17 trouble areas, brakes, broken interior pieces, out of warranty transmissions, and four-wheel drives are like big items, but they had minor items and big items. So you need to know, make sure you know that some of these problems are big, some aren't so big. So we see the top list is the Chevy Silverado. The reliability is like a 13. Now that's 13 out of 100. That's a really low score. That's a really bad score. The Subaru Ascent, that's the new one, has a really poor reliability too. And Subaru is really mostly known as reliable. It's kind of interesting, that result there. Volkswagen Atlas, another new three-row SUV, gets really bad reliability. Jeep Compass is pretty reliable on this list as well. Volvo XC90, and then the Chevy Colorado has a 26. Now, I have signed in. I am a member of consumerreports.org. It is GMC Canyon and Chevy Silverado, and it's GMC Sierra with the Chevy Silverado. So when you look at these and look at the details, behind the unlocking, they talk about its, transmission issues, in-car entertainment issues, lots of issues there. But what's interesting about that is that depending on different lists I've looked at some behind-the-scenes stuff. The Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon and the GMC Sierra and Silverado have really hit lows. They're really below Ford. They're really below everybody else. And I had a top 5 here. They had a Ram 1500 is number 1, a Toyota Tundra is number 2, and those two trucks tie. Nissan Titan, Ford F250, and then the Silverado and GMC 1500. They said they can't do the F150 predicted reliability yet because they haven't tested it yet, which I find a little bizarre. It's a little interesting there. So it's too new of a model, basically what they're saying. And so when I looked at the F150 in prior years, the F150 is right with the Nissan Titan, kind of right above the Chevy Silverado and GMC 1500. And so that's kind of how they list things as far as reliability. When I go a little bit deeper dive and compare to different models, listing kind of changes a little bit. And so it's pretty interesting, their numbers. So if you're a Consumer Reports member, go ahead and log in and check them out. I can't show it on the screen. It's an agreement I made with Consumer Reports. But the reason I say with a little bit of a grain of salt on this is that they list transmission problems as being an issue on their reports. And then when you go to reliability on the Silverado, they actually have a 2 green chisel up, which means it's above average. What I think is going on here is that Silverado, they offer so many different combinations of things that it's really, it's confusing. So we have, for the work truck trim, which is WT work truck, we have a 2.7 liter turbo with an 8-speed automatic, okay? With the 4.3 Ecotec V6, now this is the active fuel management. This isn't the new 4.3. Well, actually, new 5.3, because the 4.3 you can't even get in the consumer trims. I'll get to this in a minute. This is the older one. So that engine gets made into a 6-speed automatic, and then the 5.3 V8 with the work truck gets made into a 6-speed automatic. Okay, so work truck there. So you go to custom. Now that's the grade above work truck, and it's still a commercial kind of configuration. I know some people are actually buying this trim as consumers, but it's still considered by Chevrolet to be a work truck trim. And so again, you have the older engines and the older transmissions. And I can show you why this is here in a second. Custom Trail Boss is the lifted with custom version. It's got the Trail Boss badging and stuff like that. But oh, you can get the 6.2 liter Ecotec 3 V8 with a 10-speed. Now I'm looking at 2021 here. And so when we go down to the LT is now, this is the base trim level for consumers. This is what consumers, we're out of commercial now, we're in consumer grades. That's where it gets confusing because they listed all in the same website. So you're looking at 5.3, 5.3, but the thing you look difference here is this 5.3 and the LT has DFM. Now that's dynamic fuel management. This is the newer V8. It's got changes to how the fuel is delivered to the cylinders to increase fuel economy. And this is a different engine. Mostly the same. The block's the same, but it's just a different engine. So you have this with an 8-speed. If you look at the custom Trail Boss and the customs, that one came with a 6-speed. And now you can get a diesel in this, in the LT, and that comes with a 10-speed. Are you keeping track? We got 6-speed, we got 8-speed, we got 10-speed. We have two different versions of the 5.3, and we don't have another versions of 4.3 because the 4.3 is only for consumer or commercial trades, for work trucks. So we have 2.7, we have the 3 V8 here with a 10-speed. Then you can get the RST with a 6.2 liter Ecotec V8 with the 10-speed. So again, they're saying transmission issues, and then the videos I've done on the Chevy Silverado and the deep dive I've done on like NHTSA.org recalls or like consumer or carcomplaints.com. I've done those kind of deep dive, a little deep dive in consumerreports.org as well. The information I keep getting back is it's just the 8-speed. It's not the 10-speed. 10-speed's been really good for a lot of people so far. The 6-speed, it seems like it's been all right. The 8-speed, and it's hard shifts, it's torque converter locking up, that kind of stuff going on. And when I've done some videos on this, the comments below are like, well, just change the transmission fluid, and a lot of those guys are tuning them a little bit. Go to tune shop and just tune it a little bit, get a little more horsepower out of that at a different RPM, and it smooths out the shifting. So, and it seems like the 8-speed has been recalled. There is a class action lawsuit on it, but there's been some changes to that. And so it's interesting because GM here is still using it. As we scroll down, we can see 8-speed, 10-speed, 10-speed, 8-speed, 10-speed. Then we get to the high country. Look at this, the high country with dynamic fuel management. That comes with a 10-speed. So 10 speeds across the board. So that's where it really gets confusing. And if you go back to 2020, when we look at the when I go back to 2020, when I get the right browser window here, we can kind of see the same things happening. The work truck, the custom Trail Boss. You can see the changes in the engine and the transmission. And then you get down into the LT, RST. It's all about the same. Now, there had been a story that was written by GMAuthority.com that said that the 6.2 is going to be offered in 8-speed. And I have not been able to verify that story. I've talked to GM about it, and they're confused by that story too. So it's all right here. It's all 10 speeds as we go. And so I think that's part of the confusion here is that you can look at this list from Consumer Reports and say, well, that truck's not reliable. And then you dig a little bit into it and you go, what's reliability issue? Well, it's mainly transmission been the biggest complaint with these trucks. And there's a brake issue too. I'll dig into that in just a minute. But there is some concerns about transmission. That's the biggest thing people talk about. But then again, it's like, which transmission are you going with, which engine? Oh, and right here in the 2020, I forgot to say it, is the 5.3 V8 comes with an 8-speed and a 10-speed. It comes with either or. So as a consumer, you need to be informed. Like I said, I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about 10-speed, not so much good stuff with 8-speed. 10-speed is still newer though, so we still got a little more time to work out those issues. Let's go talk about brakes. Okay, let's go to one of my favorite sites to look at kind of deeper dive information. So I have carcomplaints.com, and I'm going to pull up NHTSA.org as well. But looking at carcomplaints.com, I look at 2019 models. So the Consumer Reports guide of reliable cars looked at last couple model years, so 2019 and 2020 to do 2021 is what I'm gathering from that. Although we're going to look at 2018 as well on NHTSA.gov because it makes a difference. So if you look at the top complaints, we can see brakes, transmission problems. Well, we just said that in this video, right? So you know that transmission problems are from mostly the 8-speed. Like I said, 10-speed's been pretty decent so far. But again, still early on that one. But if you click on brake problems, we have NHTSA complaints at 137. So that's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They get information from consumers as well. And they have brakes not working. They have service brakes. I mean, lots of concern here. And so when I take and I go and I click on the brakes not working, I can see some of the problems people are complaining about. And they're saying severity rating pretty bad. If you look at 2018 though on this, severity rating is a 10 out of 10. I mean, this is an issue. And so I thought it was interesting. There's complaints, lights turned on like a Christmas tree, and then a problem with braking and problem with braking. So sometimes it's not always the brake issue, it's a transmission issue, it's a module issue, but hey, I couldn't stop the vehicle, so I'm gonna blame the brakes. Something you gotta keep in mind is not all problems are very accurately listed. You'll have a lot of complaints from me when I look at this information that not everybody's listing it quite accurately because they're listing just the problem. They're saying I can't brake, or the light's turned on, so it's gotta be a transmission issue. And then they get it fixed, they don't change the complaint. They don't accurately report the correct problem. But if we look at NHTSA.org, and that's just kind of my pet peeve, if we look at NHTSA.org, and I looked at 2018, so it's interesting, 2019 didn't have any recalls for brakes. 2018, though, has 3 recalls, and they're all brakes. We have a vacuum pump, another vacuum pump, and a software issue for unattended braking. So quite a bit of concerns there with brakes. Now, these recalls can happen. They can take place, get it fixed. And so we don't know when the survey went out, whether they had the brakes fixed that time, whether they didn't have it fixed that time, and it may have been a problem that has now been addressed by General Motors, that people are still going, oh yeah, I had that brake problem. I need to write that down. People need to know that. And so that's why this stuff is always a little bit of grain of salt. But that's why you take my videos, take Consumer Reports Says, take carcomplaints.com, and you kind of build your own analysis based on your own current thinking on what truck to buy and what makes sense for from a reliability standpoint. So there you go. I just thought it was really interesting stuff. I always follow Consumer Reports because I find it with consumer feedback is always really important to me. I'm always curious to see what consumers are saying. Like, what are owners actually saying about these trucks? I know when I drive them for the week, I don't really have these many problems. I don't put that many miles on them. And so I'm really curious to see, as the trucks age, what are we finding for problems? So hey, found that interesting as well. Hit subscribe, stick around. Also, check the video out over here. It's a good time. Website down below. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.